What if I told you that one of the most powerful weapons against cancer isn't found in a pharmacy, isn't developed in a billion-dollar lab, and doesn't require a prescription? What if it's been sitting quietly in your kitchen, possibly in your refrigerator right now, waiting for you to understand its extraordinary potential? Here's a fact that stops most people in their tracks. After the age of 50, your body is producing microscopic cancer cells almost every single day. Now, before that alarms you, let me be clear. This is normal biology. Your immune system and your body's own defense systems are designed to find those rogue cells, cut off their supply lines, and eliminate them before they ever become a threat. But here's the critical question. Are you feeding your body's defense system, or are you accidentally feeding the cancer? Because that's what most people over 50 are unknowingly doing. They're eating foods they believe are healthy. They're following dietary advice that is decades outdated. And meanwhile, at the cellular level, they're creating the exact metabolic environment that allows abnormal cells to grow, build their own blood supply, and thrive. This is not about fear. This is about understanding. You see, oncologists, the doctors who specialize in treating cancer, have known for years that tumors don't just grow on their own. They need fuel, they need blood vessels, they need a specific metabolic environment. And what the latest research is now confirming is that certain foods have the remarkable ability to cut off that supply, to literally starve cancer cells at the root. And one food stands above all the rest. One food has been studied more extensively than almost any other in the context of cancer prevention, angiogenesis, which is the process tumors use to build blood vessels, and immune defense activation. And what's beautiful about this food is that it's accessible, it's affordable, and it works through multiple biological pathways simultaneously. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what this food is, why it works at the cellular level, and how to use it strategically after 50 to give your body the strongest natural defense against cancer that science has identified. I'll explain the physiology, I'll share the research, and I'll give you a clear, practical protocol you can start using today. We're going to cover 6 critical insights: how cancer cells feed themselves, why your body's defense system weakens after 50, the specific biological mechanism this food activates, what the clinical research actually shows, how to prepare and consume it for maximum benefit, and the common mistakes that destroy its cancer-fighting properties before it ever reaches your cells. So if you're over 50, or you care about someone who is, this might be one of the most important conversations you hear this year. Because the truth is, your body already knows how to fight cancer. It just needs you to stop getting in its way and start giving it the right raw materials. Let's begin with what's really happening inside your body right now, at this very moment, that most people have no idea about. Before we dive deep, let me give you a clear roadmap of exactly what we're going to cover today, because I want you to understand not just what to eat, but why it works. And when you understand the why, you'll never forget the what. Here are the 6 science-backed insights we'll explore. Number 1, cancer cells don't just appear and attack. They recruit, they build infrastructure, they hijack your body's own blood vessel system through a process called angiogenesis. And understanding this process is the foundation of everything we'll discuss today. Number 2, after the age of 50, 3 critical shifts happen in your metabolism, your immune surveillance, and your hormonal environment that create a window of vulnerability. And most people have no idea these shifts are occurring silently, right beneath the surface. Number 3, the number 1 oncologist recommended food for naturally starving cancer cells is not exotic, not expensive, and not complicated. It's the cruciferous vegetable family. And at the top of that family sits broccoli sprouts, along with mature broccoli, with a specific compound called sulforaphane that operates like a precision-guided missile against cancer's supply lines. Number 4, the research behind this is not preliminary. We're talking about peer-reviewed studies from Johns Hopkins, Harvard, and international cancer research institutions showing measurable reductions in tumor growth, angiogenesis inhibition, and cancer stem cell suppression. Number 5, how you prepare this food matters enormously. And this is where most people unknowingly destroy up to 90% of its cancer-fighting power before a single bite reaches their bloodstream. I'll show you the exact preparation method that preserves and even amplifies its potency. Number 6, there's a strategic daily protocol that oncologists and integrative medicine researchers are now recommending, combining timing, quantity, synergistic foods, and lifestyle factors that turns this single food into a comprehensive cancer defense system. Those are the 6 pillars. Each one builds on the last, and by the end of this video, you'll have a complete understanding not just of what to eat, but how your body uses it, how cancer tries to survive, and exactly how to tip that battle decisively in your favor. Now let's start with the biology. Let's start with what's really going on inside your body when a cancer cell tries to establish itself, because once you see this, everything else clicks into place. Here's what's really going on inside your body that most people never learn. Right now, as you're watching this, your body contains microscopic clusters of abnormal cells. This isn't a maybe. This is established medical science. Autopsy studies have shown that virtually every person over the age of 50 has tiny, dormant collections of cancer cells in the thyroid, in the breast tissue, in the prostate, in the colon. They're there, but here's the crucial distinction. Having cancer cells is not the same as having cancer, and the difference, the single most important difference, comes down to one word: angiogenesis. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine a small campfire in the middle of a desert. No fuel around it. No wind feeding it. That fire will flicker and die on its own. That's what a microscopic tumor is without blood supply. It's a tiny cluster of abnormal cells, maybe the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen, and it cannot grow beyond that size without oxygen and nutrients. Now imagine someone starts building roads to that campfire. Supply trucks begin arriving. Fuel is delivered. Oxygen is funneled in. Suddenly, that small flicker becomes a roaring blaze. That's angiogenesis. It's the process by which tumors send out chemical signals, primarily a protein called vascular endothelial growth factor, or VEGF, that hijack your body's blood vessel building system and redirect new blood vessels directly to the tumor. Dr. Judah Folkman at Harvard Medical School first proposed this concept decades ago, and it has since become one of the foundational pillars of modern oncology. His insight was revolutionary. You don't necessarily have to kill every cancer cell. If you can cut off its supply lines, if you can prevent angiogenesis, the tumor starves. It stays dormant. It stays the size of that ballpoint pen tip. And in many cases, your immune system clears it away entirely. This is not theoretical. The pharmaceutical industry has developed multiple drugs based on this principle: bevacizumab, sorafenib, sunitinib, all designed to block VEGF and inhibit tumor blood vessel growth. These drugs generate billions of dollars annually because the principle works. But here's what the drug companies don't widely advertise. Your diet can do this too. Not with the same brute force as a pharmaceutical agent, but through consistent daily modulation of your body's angiogenic balance. You see, your body maintains what researchers call an angiogenic balance, a constant equilibrium between signals that promote blood vessel growth and signals that inhibit it. In a healthy state, this balance is tightly regulated. Blood vessels grow when you need them, to heal a wound, for example, and they stop growing when the job is done. But when this balance tips in favor of excessive angiogenesis, through chronic inflammation, excess insulin, obesity, or poor dietary inputs, you create an environment where dormant cancer cells get the supply lines they need to wake up, grow, and become dangerous. And this is exactly what happens more frequently after 50. The balance tips. And the foods you eat every single day are either helping to maintain that balance or they're tipping it toward danger. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help you understand what's really happening inside your body and what you can do about it naturally. Now let's look at why age 50 is such a critical inflection point, and what changes in your body that makes this angiogenic balance so much harder to maintain. So why 50? Why is this age such a turning point when it comes to cancer vulnerability? It's not an arbitrary number. It reflects real, measurable biological shifts that converge simultaneously, and most people are completely unaware they're happening. The first shift is immunosenescence. That's the medical term for the gradual decline of your immune system's surveillance capability. Think of your immune system like a security team patrolling a building. When you're young, that team is large, alert, well-equipped, and responsive. They catch intruders immediately. But after 50, that team starts to shrink. The patrol routes get longer. Response times slow down. Specifically, your thymus gland, the organ that trains your T cells, your body's cancer-killing soldiers, has been shrinking since puberty. By the time you reach 50, it's a fraction of its original size. A study published in the journal Immunity in 2023 confirmed that T-cell diversity drops significantly in the fifth decade, reducing the immune system's ability to recognize and destroy abnormal cells before they establish themselves. This means cancer cells that would have been caught and eliminated at age 30 are now slipping through the cracks. Not because they're smarter, because your patrol team is smaller. The second shift is metabolic. After 50, insulin sensitivity declines in most people. Fasting insulin levels creep upward. And here's what most people don't realize. Insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone. It's a powerful growth signal. When insulin levels are chronically elevated, a condition called hyperinsulinemia, it stimulates a pathway called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. And IGF-1 directly promotes cell proliferation. It tells cells to grow and divide. For healthy cells, that's fine. But for dormant cancer cells sitting quietly in your tissue, elevated IGF-1 is like a wake-up call. A 2022 meta-analysis published in Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers, and Prevention found that individuals with the highest circulating IGF-1 levels had a significantly elevated risk of colorectal, breast, and prostate cancers. So your dietary pattern, particularly one high in refined sugars, processed carbohydrates, and frequent eating that keeps insulin perpetually elevated, is directly feeding the metabolic environment that cancer cells exploit. The third shift involves hormonal changes. In women, the transition through menopause dramatically alters estrogen and progesterone levels, which affects tissue inflammation and cellular turnover rates. In men, declining testosterone and rising estrogen ratios after 50 create a pro-inflammatory hormonal environment. And inflammation, chronic low-grade systemic inflammation, is now recognized as one of the primary drivers of cancer progression. Researchers call it inflammaging. A landmark paper in Nature Reviews Cancer described chronic inflammation as the seventh hallmark of cancer, noting that inflammatory cytokines directly promote angiogenesis, suppress immune surveillance, and enable tumor invasion. So here's the picture. After 50, you have a weakened immune patrol, elevated growth signals from insulin and IGF-1, and a chronic inflammatory background humming beneath the surface. These three forces converge to create what oncologists call a permissive environment. An environment where dormant cancer cells that your body has kept in check for decades suddenly find the conditions they need to build blood vessels, access nutrients, and grow. This is the root cause. Not bad luck, not just genetics, but a metabolic and immune environment shaped largely by what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, and how you manage stress. And this is precisely where our number one food enters the picture, because it targets all three of these vulnerabilities simultaneously. Let me show you exactly how. The food that sits at the top of every evidence-based oncologist's list for natural cancer defense is broccoli, and more specifically, broccoli sprouts. But not broccoli as a generic vegetable. Broccoli as a delivery system for one of the most potent, naturally occurring anti-cancer compounds ever studied, sulforaphane. Now, let me explain what sulforaphane actually does inside your body, because this is where it gets truly remarkable. Sulforaphane doesn't exist in broccoli as a ready-made compound. It's created through a chemical reaction. Inside broccoli cells, there's a precursor compound called glucoraphanin. And in a separate compartment within the cell, there's an enzyme called myrosinase. When you chew raw broccoli, or when you chop or crush it, those cell walls break open. Glucoraphanin meets myrosinase, and sulforaphane is born. It's like a biological lock and key that only activates when the vegetable is physically disrupted. Let me explain what happens next with a simple analogy. Think of sulforaphane as a master key that walks into your body and unlocks a very specific door, a door labeled NRF2. NRF2, or nuclear factor erythroid 2-related factor 2, is a transcription factor. That means it's a protein that enters the nucleus of your cells and switches on a whole battery of protective genes. We're talking about over 200 genes involved in antioxidant defense, detoxification, anti-inflammatory response, and here's the critical part, anti-angiogenic signaling. When sulforaphane activates NRF2, it's like flipping on the master switch of your body's cellular defense system. Your cells ramp up production of glutathione, your most powerful internal antioxidant. They activate phase 2 detoxification enzymes in the liver that neutralize carcinogens before they can damage DNA. And they produce proteins that directly inhibit VEGF, that same blood vessel growth factor that tumors use to build their supply lines. But sulforaphane doesn't stop there. Research from Johns Hopkins University, the institution where sulforaphane was first identified and characterized by Dr. Paul Talalay and Dr. Jed Fahey, has shown that this compound works through at least 4 distinct anti-cancer mechanisms simultaneously. First, it inhibits angiogenesis. It blocks the signals tumors use to recruit new blood vessels. A 2023 study in Nutrients demonstrated that sulforaphane reduced VEGF expression in human cancer cell lines by up to 60%. Second, it induces apoptosis, programmed cell death, specifically in cancer cells, while leaving healthy cells unharmed. This selectivity is extraordinary and is something most chemotherapy drugs cannot achieve. Third, it suppresses cancer stem cells. These are the most dangerous cells within a tumor, the ones responsible for recurrence and metastasis. Research published in Clinical Cancer Research showed that sulforaphane targeted breast cancer stem cells, reducing their ability to form tumors by over 65% in laboratory models. Fourth, it enhances immune surveillance. Sulforaphane has been shown to modulate natural killer cell activity and T cell function, essentially strengthening the very immune patrol that weakens after 50. If this is making sense and you want more content like this, hit that subscribe button. I break down complex health topics like this every single day so you can make informed decisions about your body. No single pharmaceutical drug on the market targets all four of those pathways simultaneously. Yet this compound, found abundantly in a 3-day-old broccoli sprout, does exactly that. But here's where most people go wrong. And this next point could be the difference between getting the full cancer-fighting benefit and getting almost nothing at all. Now, I want to be very precise here because I never want to overstate what the science shows. So let me walk you through what the research actually demonstrates. Not the hype, not the headlines, but the real data. The foundational work on sulforaphane and cancer prevention began at Johns Hopkins University in the early 1990s, when Dr. Paul Talale's laboratory first isolated the compound and demonstrated its extraordinary ability to induce phase 2 detoxification enzymes. That initial discovery has since generated over 3,000 published research papers. This is not a fringe topic. This is one of the most studied food-derived bioactive compounds in the history of nutritional science. Let me walk you through several key studies that paint a clear picture. In 2012, a study published in PLOS ONE examined men with rising PSA levels, prostate-specific antigen, which is an early warning marker for prostate cancer progression. Participants consumed broccoli sprout extract, providing standardized doses of sulforaphane. The results showed a significant reduction in the rate of PSA increase, suggesting a measurable slowing of cancer cell activity. The researchers specifically noted modulation of genes involved in angiogenesis and cell cycle regulation. In 2015, a large epidemiological study published in the Annals of Oncology analyzed dietary data from over 47,000 men and found that those who consumed 3 or more servings of cruciferous vegetables per week, with broccoli being the most common, had a 41% lower risk of aggressive prostate cancer compared to men who consumed less than 1 serving per week. 41%. From food. In 2019, a clinical trial published in Cancer Prevention Research, a journal of the American Association for Cancer Research, provided healthy volunteers with broccoli sprout beverages and measured the excretion of carcinogens in their urine. The sulforaphane-rich beverage increased the detoxification and elimination of benzene by 61% and acrolein by 23%. These are known environmental carcinogens. The researchers concluded that sulforaphane was enhancing the body's ability to neutralize and excrete cancer-causing chemicals before they could damage DNA. A 2021 study in Frontiers in Nutrition specifically examined the anti-angiogenic properties of sulforaphane in human breast cancer models and found that it significantly reduced the formation of new blood vessel networks that tumors require for growth. The mechanism was directly tied to suppression of VEGF and matrix metalloproteinases, the enzymes tumors use to invade surrounding tissue. And in one of the most compelling recent findings, a 2023 review published in Antioxidants synthesized data from multiple clinical and preclinical trials and concluded that sulforaphane represents one of the most promising dietary compounds for cancer chemoprevention, with demonstrated effects against cancers of the breast, prostate, colon, lung, bladder, and pancreas. What the research shows is a consistent, replicable pattern across cell studies, animal models, and human clinical trials. Sulforaphane from broccoli and broccoli sprouts reduces angiogenesis, activates cellular detoxification, triggers cancer cell death, suppresses cancer stem cells, and enhances immune function. Now, here's something important that I want you to understand. No responsible oncologist or researcher will tell you that broccoli cures cancer. That would be dishonest and dangerous. But what the evidence overwhelmingly supports is that consistent daily intake of sulforaphane-rich foods creates a biochemical environment in your body that is significantly less hospitable to cancer. It tilts the battlefield in your favor. It strengthens the defenses that weaken after 50. And it does so through mechanisms that even the most sophisticated drugs only partially replicate. The question then becomes, how do you actually get enough sulforaphane to make a difference? And how do you avoid destroying it before it ever enters your bloodstream? That's what we need to talk about next. This is where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves. And I say this with genuine urgency because the preparation method determines whether you're getting a powerful dose of sulforaphane or virtually nothing. Remember what I explained earlier. Sulforaphane doesn't exist preformed in broccoli. It requires the enzyme myrosinase to convert glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. That enzyme is activated when cell walls are broken through chewing, chopping, or crushing. But here's the problem. Myrosinase is extremely sensitive to heat. And most people cook their broccoli. Here's what's really going on. When you take a head of broccoli, drop it into boiling water, and cook it for 10 or 15 minutes, which is what most people do, you destroy the myrosinase enzyme almost completely. A study published in the Journal of Food Science found that boiling broccoli for just 10 minutes reduced myrosinase activity by up to 90%. 90%. That means the glucoraphanin is still there in the vegetable, but without the enzyme to convert it, your body can only access a tiny fraction of the potential sulforaphane. Steaming is better. Research has shown that gentle steaming, no more than 3 to 4 minutes, keeping the broccoli bright green and still slightly firm, preserves a significant portion of the myrosinase enzyme. But even light steaming reduces it somewhat. So what's the optimal strategy? There are 3 approaches, and I'll rank them from most powerful to most practical. The most powerful option is broccoli sprouts eaten raw. 3-day-old broccoli sprouts contain anywhere from 20 to 100 times more glucoraphanin than mature broccoli, depending on the variety and growing conditions. Dr. Jed Fahey at Johns Hopkins has published extensively on this, confirming that a small handful of broccoli sprouts, roughly 1 ounce or 30 grams, can deliver the same sulforaphane potential as over a pound of cooked mature broccoli. You grow them at home from seed in a mason jar in 3 to 5 days. You chew them thoroughly and eat them raw. This is the gold standard. The second approach, and this is a brilliant technique backed by research, is called the hack and hold method for mature broccoli. Here's how it works. You chop or crush your broccoli and then you wait. You let it sit at room temperature for 40 minutes before cooking. During those 40 minutes, the myrosinase enzyme is actively converting glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. Once that conversion has occurred, the sulforaphane itself is relatively heat stable. So you can then steam, saute, or lightly cook the broccoli and retain a significant portion of the sulforaphane that was already formed. A 2018 study in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed this method significantly increased sulforaphane availability in cooked broccoli. The third approach is a rescue method for when you cook broccoli without waiting. If you've already cooked your broccoli and the myrosinase is destroyed, you can add back an external source of myrosinase by sprinkling mustard seed powder on top. Just half a teaspoon. Mustard seeds contain their own myrosinase, and research published in the British Journal of Nutrition showed that adding mustard powder to cooked broccoli restored sulforaphane formation to levels comparable to raw preparation. If this is adding value, subscribe to this channel. I share actionable health insights like this every day, backed by real research designed to help you take control of your health naturally. Let me say this clearly. The difference between eating broccoli the wrong way and the right way could be the difference between getting almost zero sulforaphane and getting a clinically meaningful dose. Preparation is not a minor detail. It is the detail